All right, for this next help session, we're going to look at this candle, which Laura's trying to add a beard and a mustache to. So how I would approach this is like go to Google and search for some good reference. So I really like for character stuff, Kid Robot as a brand. They make a bunch of art toys that are characters, and I have a feeling we should be able to find some good reference. So one thing they do really well is sort of abstracting character shapes, things like beards or eyeballs or hands or arms or whatever, into a little bit more geometric looking forms. And you might be able to find a reference that is closer to what you want. Now, this one is very sort of sculpted and organic. That's something that might be a little bit trickier to do in SolidWorks. I would recommend finding a reference and sort of stylizing your beard and mustache on your character, on your candle, to be a little less sculpted, a little bit more abstracted and geometric. Like this one, sort of an offset of the main face and then trimmed in a way that makes it look like a beard. You might be able to find some other like in-between references. And again, not knowing exactly what your sketch looks like that kind of mustache would be probably easier to build in SolidWorks, even this one, than something that's really, really organic. Not knowing what your reference looks like, I'm going to show you one way that I might approach building a beard in SolidWorks. So this is sort of like the underform. It looks like we have a nose. I'm going to assume that's a nose. And I actually already did this video once, but it didn't record my sound, so I'm kind of walking through this a second time. So the first thing I did was create a sketch on the right plane that had a curve and a like an axis of revolution, and I made a surface revolve that is essentially like one surface of my beard. It's way bigger than my beard is going to be, but it's kind of my working surface. All right, so I made a big surface, and then I also made a plane that's kind of on top of that, sort of normal to the front view of my beard. And on this plane, I made a sketch that was my beard shape. So if we look in here, I just roughly made a beard shape. This could be anything. And I used this sketch to trim my surface. Because I'm using a sketch to trim a surface, my trim surface up here, like if I open this up, is a standard trim. So I'm using a sketch to trim a surface, and I can like keep a section. So I kept this middle section that made my beard. All right, so that's one layer of beard. You could, I'm sure you can imagine how if you wanted to add more layers to your beard, you could do something similar, create other revolved surfaces, and then make other sketches on a plane facing them to make a bunch of these little beardlet pieces. So using the same idea, I made another surface revolve to make a mustache. And in this case, my sketch looked like this. I made a big curve, because I figured my mustache might have sort of like a domed curve to it. And I had to move around my axis of revolution a couple times to make sure that, this curve was wide enough to encompass my entire mustache. All right, so once I had that surface, I did another trim. So I made a sketch that was mustache shaped and used it to trim my surface. And I noticed how my sketch didn't translate exactly the way I wanted onto this surface. So I actually used another trim on another plane. I made a sketch looking from this angle, kind of cut away this little area around the outside of my mustache, like that. Okay, so I think you can maybe start to see how you could get something resembling a beard using surfaces. The next step is going to be trying to connect all those surfaces together, so you can actually use those same trim sketches. So that sketch I used to trim this mustache, I can use to trim away the top of my beard here. And then I'm sure you can imagine you could actually loft those two things together to connect them. You might also use like the same sketch I used to trim my beard surface to make an extruded surface, and then I can use all of those surfaces to trim one another. And now I have a way of connecting my beard to the rest of my candle body. Obviously, I did this really quickly, and some things don't line up. For example, like this side of my beard is maybe a little too wide for my, my candle body, so I might have to go back in and kind of reduce the size of this sketch so it intersects. But that's all something I think with a little bit more planning, or you can go back through and adjust, you'll find something that works. And again, if you wanted more layers or different shapes for your beard, I think a combination of bigger surfaces than trimmed with a sketch or another surface should be able to get you kind of close to what you want. So hopefully that's helpful, and hopefully I wasn't recording my face the whole time like this. Yeah, all right, good luck.